Hello, everyone. I thought I would talk to you about um, the book I've been reading, David Copperfield, which I haven't finished it yet. I'm 500 pages in, but the book is 850 pages. It's quite a long book, and of course, I have the Oxford Illustrated edition of David Copperfield, and I've been reading about for about half an hour almost every day and getting it through about 10, 15 pages every day. And there's a lot I like about it. I will say though that I prefer Dickinson's books that came out monthly rather than bi-monthly. Like if you look at his books like Great Expectations and A Tale of Two Cities, which I've already read, they came out in monthly installments, I believe. Whereas a book like David Copperfield came out in bi-monthly installments, or twice a month, every 2 weeks, which obviously meant that these books are around twice as long. And I prefer books like A Tale of Two Cities and Great Expectations because they're tighter in terms of the narrative. Like David Copperfield, at least so far, does not have a linear narrative, so to speak. I mean, it has a linear narrative in the sense that it's going through David Copperfield's life, but there isn't one plot point, so to speak, that it's following, main plot point. It's essentially about David Copperfield, and again, I haven't gotten to the end yet. I'm basically telling you what my impressions are of the book so far. It is essentially about David Copperfield's life, how he grows up. It's like Great Expectations in that way, but Great Expectations was more condensed in scale. And of course, I can't go over the plot as a whole. Some of you who have read the book might know that he grew up poor, and his father died, and then his mother married this abusive figure named Murdstone, very unpleasant name. And he was abusive, and eventually he got out of that situation by living with his aunt. And then he went to school, and he has a best friend named Steerforth. And I think that really is the most interesting relationship in David Copperfield so far, is his relationship with Steerforth, who at first seemed like a really good friend, but then of course later on his relationship with Steerforth starts to sour, and I'm interested to see where that goes. But that was something that I did not expect. I did not expect Steerforth to have nefarious qualities about him, but apparently he does. Now, I don't know how that's going to be resolved, but that's definitely the most interesting relationship in the book. And what's really interesting about David Copperfield is that it's written in first person, which the only other Dickens book, that full-length book that I believe is Great Expectations. But because it's written in first person, you sometimes feel like you are David Copperfield, or you feel like, how would I live in that time period? What would my life be like? It's very immersive in that way. Now, the prose itself is actually less complex, I'm finding, than some of Dickens' later novels. It's for the most part simple and straightforward. There will be little flushes here and there of poetic brilliance, but it's definitely written in a simpler style compared to some of Dickens's later work. But so far, I'm quite enjoying the book. I mean, I wish, and this is just my own personal take on it, I wish that the plot was a little tighter, a little more coherent. But again, I understand what Dickens is doing. It's that he's telling essentially his life story, because Dickens based a lot of the characters in David Copperfield off of people he knew in real life, and Dickens is himself identified quite a lot with David Copperfield. It was his favorite book, and even now I can see references in the sense that David Copperfield is in love with Dora, who is the daughter of David Copperfield's employer, kind of like how Dickens married the daughter of his employer or publisher. And I'm not sure, I could be wrong about this, but I think that their relationship goes south later on in the book, kind of like how Dickens's relationship with his wife went south. But then again, I don't know that for sure. That's what I read somewhere. But one of the things that I really love about Dickens's work is how immersive it is, about how you get to see the thoughts and customs and beliefs of the people 200, almost 200 years ago, and you get to see their ideas, what they thought about life, about how appearance or how people perceived you was of an enormous importance. That people often cared more about appearances than and about appearing good than actually doing good. And so it's very interesting to see the moral dynamics of that time period and how they contrast with our own. And I think Dickens did that better than almost any writer of the time period because he was able to speak to the cultural zeitgeist of that period. And so I love Dickens for that reason because he's a great storyteller. He's immersive, and he's able to combine simplicity with complexity, and that's something that many other writers can't do. So for all those reasons, I would recommend reading David Copperfield, even though I haven't finished it yet. I'm going to do a follow-up once I finish it so I can give my overall review and reaction to the book.